Sir, please begin. We are live now.
Okay, thank you very much. Very good afternoon to all of you, and a warm welcome to all the audience and the viewers on the show. On behalf of Parallel University, I, Commander Sanjay Sharma, Director Armed Forces Motivation Cell, welcomes all the audience for this webinar show, which is being hosted for the students who are keen to join the Indian Navy for commission in the executive branch, sports and law, and the technical branch, naval constructor service, as short service commission officers for the course which will be commencing in June 2021. The scope of our presentation will be covered under the following heads: introduction, Indian Navy, notification, eligibility criteria, physical standards, medicals, duties and responsibilities, selection procedure, SSB, training, how one can apply, what are the pay and allowances that everyone will get as an officer in the Navy, and subsequently followed by a question and answers. Now, I would like to begin with the first and the foremost is about the Indian Navy. As we all know, Indian Navy is a branch of the Indian Armed Forces and is commanded. The Supreme Commander of the services is the President of India, and the senior most officer in the Indian Navy is the Admiral, who is called the Chief of Naval Staff. Now, the Indian Navy is the 7th largest fleet of the Navy in the world, followed by the top spot is occupied by the United States, Russia, China, Japan, UK, and France, and India follows them. Now, the primary objective of the Indian Navy is basically to safeguard the national maritime borders, and in conjunction with the other armed forces of the Union, it deters to defeat any threats or aggression against the territory, people of maritime interest, or both in air and in war and peace. Now, though the people of India are peace loving, but situation arises, we are there always for the nation. We also conduct joint exercises with the foreign navies, have goodwill visits, and also the Navy inducts or assists this community in humanitarian missions, including disaster relief, and also Indian Navy promotes bilateral relationships between the two nations, or between the nations of the world. Now, as of latest figures, which date back to about 2 years back, Indian Navy has got about 68,000 serving personals and about a reserve force of 55,000 personnel, and has a fleet of about 150 ships and submarines and about 300 aircrafts as operating for and readily available to the nation. Now, these aircrafts consist of one aircraft carrier, amphibious ship, that is Jalashva, which has been procured by US, and destroyers, frigates, nuclear powered submarine, ballistic missile submarine, conventional surface powered submarine, and corvettes and countermeasure vessels. Now, let me tell you, Indian Navy is the only services which has got a 3-dimensional force. That means the Indian Navy operates both on the water, under the water, and in the air. As far as the air arm is concerned of the Indian Navy, we have almost about 24 squadrons of the air squadrons. Of these, 10 operate as fixed-wing aircrafts, and the balance operate as helicopter squadrons, and the remaining 3 operate as the UAV squadron, that is the unmanned aerial vehicles. Coming to the submarine force, India's got a big force of submarines also. In fact, INS Kursura, one of the old submarines, played a major role in the 1970 war, and subsequent to that, India has got a large number of submarines to its fleet. In addition, India has also got a nuclear submarine which is on lease, INS Chakra, which is on lease from Russia, and India has launched its own submarine, INS Aryan, in 2020. Now, in addition to that, new ships are under construction by the Indian Navy, which includes INS Vikrant, which has been launched in 2013 by Cochin Shipyard and is likely to be joining the force in 2021. The trials will be beginning, and this is what is on the news. Okay, now getting back to the profession on which we're talking about. Now, the Indian Navy has issued a notification wherein it has asked for applications from students, that is men and women, to join as short service commission officers for the executive branch in the sports category, which has got 1 vacancy, the executive branch law cadre, which has got 2 vacancies, and the technical branch of the naval constructor vacancies, which has got 14 vacancies. Now, how you can join, we will be coming to that. Now, what are the eligibility criteria? First and the foremost is for the sports. Now, any candidate who is of the age between 22 to 27 years, that means he is born between 2nd July 1994 and the 1st of July 1999, including both the days, he is eligible to apply for this. As far as the age criteria is concerned, this is the first criteria. Secondly, as far as education qualification is concerned, he has to be a participant of at senior level at the national championships, games in athletes, tennis, football, hockey, basketball, swimming. And as an education qualification, he should have a regular postgraduate degree or a BE or a BTech in any field. Candidates with diploma in sports coaching from National Institute of Sports, MSc in Sports Coaching, etc., will also be given priority to this. Now, coming to the law cadre, students who are born between 1st of July, 2nd July 1994 and 1st July 1999, that means age between 22nd and 27 years, are eligible for applying for the law cadre as the first criteria is concerned. There are 2 vacancies for this, and the eligibility criteria is he should have a law degree, qualified as an advocate under the Advocates Act 1961 with minimum 55% marks. Similarly, a candidate applying for this entry should be from a college, university recognized by the Bar Council of India. Coming for the eligibility conditions for a naval constructor, the student should be born between 2nd of July 1996 and 1st of January 2002, both days inclusive. That means you should be in the age bracket of 19.5 to 25 years. There are 14 vacancies for this. Now, who all can apply? Any candidate or student who has a BTech, BE with minimum 60% marks in any of the following disciplines. Now, which are the disciplines? Mechanical, civil, aeronautical, aerospace, metallurgy, naval architecture, ocean engineering, marine engineering, ship technology, shipbuilding, and ship design. Now, that means if you are qualified in these following subjects or in the following as a graduate with the percentage that is asked for, that is 60%, you are eligible to apply for a naval constructor in the naval services as a short service commission officer. Now, what are the other conditions that are required to be there for fulfilling or fulfillment by a student? He should be physically fit as per the prescribed standards. I shall be discussing those physical standards at a later stage. And in fact, the guidelines for the physical fitness are available on the Indian Naval site, that's www.joinindiannavy.gov.in. Now, specification as per the weight is concerned, the relaxation in the height is permissible to the candidate holding domicile of specific regions. Now, this clause has been put up because in our country, which has got a vast number of states, the large number of states, there are certain states where the height difference is much varies, especially when you go to the eastern states, the height of the people is less. So to make them eligible and to make them join, the weight criteria and the height criteria have been modified. Now, what is this saying? Now, all candidates who will be recommended by the SSB will have to undergo medicals as per the extent regulations, and there is no relaxation in the medical standards on any ground. That means all the students who have been recommended after selection and who have been recommended for the SSB will have to have medical standards and specifications, and there is no relaxation into those categories or the standards because there is no compromise on those standards of medicals. Now, what is short service commission and what are the terms? First and foremost, let me tell you, the Indian Navy or the services, tri-services, we have 2 types of commissions. One is the permanent commission and the other second is the short service commission. Now, since we are handling with the short service commission, I will only elaborate on the short service commission. This is basically an induction of an officer into the armed forces, like now we're talking about the Navy, wherein an officer who is selected in the Indian Navy will have to undergo a contractual service for a term of 10 years, which is extendable maximum by 4 years in the batches of 2 steps. And this is subject to the service requirements, the performance of the individual, the medical eligibility, and the willingness of the candidate. Now, under this scheme, officers who are joining will not be eligible for grant of permanent commission. That means at the end of 14 years of service, if you are joined the services at the end of 14 years of service, you will have to leave the service. That means the contractual service with the Navy will be over. However, there are certain qualifications, there are certain clauses wherein the government may change the rule, may not change the rule, wherein it may become permanent, that we don't know. But right now, you can only serve for a maximum of 14 years. And in addition to that, when you're in service, you are required to undergo certain examinations, periodical examinations, which will elevate you to the next rank for promotions. And you have to compulsory pass that the PME exam, we call that as professional management examination. You have to pass to become a officer of the rank of commander in the Navy as a short service commission officer also. Now, this services is basically granted for a contract. Let's come back to the law and constructor branch officers. The services is initially granted for 10 years, extendable to 4 years, which I've already mentioned. And the service contract will vary or continue with based on your performance, willingness, and medical eligibility of the individual officer. As far as sports officers concerned, what appointments will be having? The officers would be appointed as sports officers at various establishments, command headquarters, sports control board, or such other appointments to look into after various facets of the sports management. The officers will be called upon to perform any other duty based on the service requirements. That means if you're appointed or inducted into the Navy as an officer in the sports cadre, besides the major role that you're going to play as a sports officer, which will involve including physical training to the officers, to the men, training of the personnel in the various level of sports, organizing and heading on with higher formations. If you're on a small ship or a small establishment, you will be required to liaise up and tie up with the headquarters or maybe the higher formations for conducting of the sports events, for giving your ideas, giving your professional, I would say, the professional guidance to the services, to the concerned officers with regard to conducting of sports activities and all. Now, that does not bind you that you will only do sports officers duty. There are service requirements. You may be tasked with other duties and responsibilities also. So you should also be prepared to perform the other duties, which will be seen with your caliber and the capabilities that you're performing. Now, coming to the officers of the law cadre, now what will be the charter of duties of this person? Now, the primary duty of the officer who is appointed as the JAG, that is, we call them as Judge Advocate General in the Navy, is to attend the court martials as a trial judge advocate, wherein he decides all questions of law arising in the course of trial of an officer in his department. He is expected to render advice and assistance to the ships, establishments, units of the Indian Navy in dealing with the disciplinary matters, monitoring of the court cases, and also pursuing litigation in various courts at various levels. Now, basically, he is a law officer who is qualified into the law, and now he is basically a person who advises the command or to the senior officers as to the what type of investigation or what type of investigation or disciplinary action is to be taken against a serving person in uniform who has conducted any act of indiscipline. So he basically acts as a trial judge advocate, and he is responsible for guiding and also advising the senior officers into the command for disciplinary actions against the person. In addition to that, he is also responsible for the litigation matters into the various courts. He also attends the cases. Suppose there are cases which are involving the naval fraternity with the civil court. He is a mediator between the civil court and the naval fraternity for attending the cases, brief up the higher formations, and fight the case for the Navy along with the civil lawyers which are hired on behalf of the services. Now, in addition to that, the duties of the legal officer also include providing advice on the various segments of diverse laws such as the naval law, rules, regulations of the orders of the Navy, international maritime law, salvage, piracy, contractual law, criminal and civil law, personal law, and others. Now, as far as criminal law and civil laws are concerned, this is basically in liaison with the defense lawyers or the lawyers who are hired by the services and who also assist the naval officers in the naval law fraternity in fighting the case and also in guiding the liaising up with the civil judges also. As a naval constructor officer, now we come to it. He is an important officer into the cadre. He is responsible for carrying out duties which include encompassment of wide spectrum, which includes designing of warships, which is a very major factor. Let me tell you, designing of a warship is a very tedious task, and it is not like constructing a building. So designing of a warship plays a major role because a lot of factors matter when a ship is being constructed, and similarly when a warship is constructed, a submarine is constructed, and in addition to that, various shipyards and the platform trials which are constructed are also important, because the various shipyards are the places where the dry docks are constructed, various docks are constructed, which depend on the specifications of the ships that are likely to be docked in or likely to be constructed in those particular docks. So a naval constructor plays a very vital role as far as a ship's docking is concerned, construction and design of ships are concerned. Now, in addition to that, he is also appointed on board the warships, as well as the refit and operational support for the ships and submarines, including dry docking. And let me tell you, as a naval constructor, there's a lot of enriching exposure, and with the future technologies coming into play, it has become a competitive task for a naval constructor, because with the competition that is there, with the techniques that are available, his task has not only become competitive, but it has also become a very easy task for him. Now, what are the procedures for officers and to get into this? Now, MOD Navy, that means the Ministry of Defense Navy, it reserves the right to shortlist applications and to fix cutoff percentage based on the percentage scored in degree for education qualifications mentioned in the paragraph above. Approximately now 200 candidates who are in the merit list will be shortlisted for SSB. I'll be coming to the SSB also. I'll just make a brief narration also about it, as to what it is about and how it goes about. Now, as far as sports is concerned, the sports category is an open merit for selection. The shortlisted candidates will be interviewed by a preliminary screening board constituted by the MOD Navy. Candidates found suitable by the preliminary board would be deputed for the service selection board interviews. That means before the SSB board is before you're recommended for the service selection board, you will be coming for a preliminary selection board, which will be constituted by the MOD Navy, and those officers will judge or find out from an officer, after his assessment, both with the documents and the physical capabilities and the mental capabilities of the officer-like qualities, those students will be shortlisted and will be recommended for the service selection board. But the students who are being called for the preliminary screening board will not be paid any allowances. That means they will not be paid any rail fare, nor will be paid any other allowances that are admissible to them for attending the preliminary screening board. Now, candidates with diploma in sports coaching from National Institute of Sports, MSc in Sports, will be given priority over candidates with other qualifying degrees. And all sports entry quota should be shortlisted for the preliminary screening would now be required to carry all certificate documents original while appearing for the SSB interview. Now, selection for the naval constructors. Now, again, the MOD reserves the right to shortlist applications to cut the percentage based on the percentage scored in education qualification. And for the B and BTech, the percentage scored in the 5th and 7th semester respectively will be considered to shortlist the candidates. Now, approximately for the branch of constructor, which has got vacancies, they are likely to call about 800 candidates who will be decided based on the merit, based on the qualifications, and these candidates who will be called for the PSB will be shortlisted, and out of them, the selected people will be sent for the service selection board interviews for further selection. And if they clear that with the medicals and other things, they will be selected and they will be joining the academy in the June 2021 course. Now, SSB interview. Now, let me tell you what is SSB first of all. Now, SSB stands for Service Selection Board. And let me tell you, SSB is is a very tedious task and a very refined procedure of interviewing a cadet for shortlisting him for selection as an officer into the armed forces. Now, Service Selection Board is not that system where you just study overnight, appear for the corporate interview with your documents, and you're selected or rejected. This is a very systematic task wherein a student is called for the interview. He is required to be there for almost 5 days, subject to his clearing the various stages of SSB. I shall just come to that also. Just give a second. Okay, now basically, there are various tests that are conducted in the Service Selection Board. They vary from physical activities, your group testing, your officer's intelligence rating, PPDT test. Now, on the first day when you report at the SSB center, you are required to undergo 2 tests. That is, first is called the officer's intelligence rating test, which basically involves multiple tasking test questions and answers, which are required to answer in about 40 minutes. Immediately after that, you undergo a PPDT test that's called as picture perception and description test, wherein you are shown a picture. It's a quite easy picture. It is shown for a couple of minutes, that's 3 minutes, and you give 4 minutes after that to write a story on that, what you imagined. After that, you discuss amongst yourself, you come to a common conclusion, and in those things, you are assessed by the officers who are there in the SSB center. Students who are shortlisted are selected for this, and they are called screened in. Students who do not clear this are boarded out, and on the same day, they are sent back. Now, students who are shortlisted, that is who are screened in, they stay into the next SSB center for about 4 to 5 days next. And they are required to undergo various type of tests, which I shall be just covering. But before I begin to that, let me just make a note of all that in an SSB, when you're going for a SSB interview, what is assessed from you and what is seen in you. Now, there are basically 4 factors which are seen in an individual to come to a conclusion whether the person is fit to be a military officer or not. The first and the foremost is your planning and organizing ability, which includes effective intelligence, reasoning ability, organizing ability, and the power of expression. The second factor is your social factor, that is a social adjustment, how you adjust yourself with the people who are there, cooperation, the sense of responsibility, social effectiveness of initiative, self-confidence, speed of decision, availability to influence, the ability to influence the group, and liveliness. And the fourth factor is dynamic. That means how determined you are, how courageous you are, and how much stamina do you have. Now, these are all factors which are examined into you when you're performing the various tasks at the SSB center. Let me tell you, all these qualities are observed in the individual by a group of officers who are there. And these officers, in the various tests that you're performing, that means the outdoor exercises, the group discussions, the progressive group task, the half group task, obstacle course, the snake race, the group planning exercise, lecture 8, WAT, that is word association test, SRT, that is situation reaction test. All these things are conducted, and wherein your qualities, that the 15 qualities that I've mentioned, are seen. Okay, now coming back to the SSB. Now SSB will be conducted for the shortlisted candidates who have been selected for attending the SSB. You will be going to Bhopal, Bangalore, Visakhapatnam, Kolkata in the month of March or thereafter. Now, no communication for change of application center SSB will be made by an individual. That means if suppose a candidate A has been called to report at Bhopal on, say, let's on 1st of April, no request will be accepted for his change of station or venue for the SSB interview. And all the students who are shortlisted for SSB interview will be intimated through email or the SSB provided or SMS provided by the candidates in the application. What I would request to do now is the online application dates which are already open, you have to fill up the application forms, and please ensure that you neither change your mobile number or nor do you change your email address, because any change done by you will be affected, and you will be a loser, because the correspondence or the communication address that has been mentioned by you will be sent only on the address that is filled up by you. Any change, you will be the loser, because you will not be able to get the correspondence or the communication from this. That means you're not supposed to change your mobile number or the email ID till the selection procedure is over. That means either you're selected or if you're rejected, whatever the outcome is, please do not change your email ID and the mobile number till that time. Now, I was mentioning about it, SSB, which has got, it's a 5-day procedure and consists of stage 1, that is the day 1. The stage 2, that is a 4-day test. The first stage consists of the intelligence test, the picture perception test, and group discussion tests. Candidates who fail to qualify in the stage 1 will be sent back on the same day from SSB center. The stage 2 consists of psychological test, the group task test, the interview, and the successful candidates will undergo medical examination, which approximately lasts for about 3 to 5 days. Now, the candidates who are recommended for the SSB and cleared medically fit will be appointed for training as per the All India merit list, depending on the number of vacancies that have been allotted or that have been announced by the government or by the respective services. Now, SSB, change of SSB, which I've already mentioned, is not permissible. Any correspondence regarding to change of SSB will be addressed to the call-up officer on the SSB on receipt of the call-up letter only. Now, no compensation will be paid to any individual in case if he sustains any injury during the SSB test. Now, a student who is going for SSB interview will be paid a return AC third class AC chair car fare for the SSB interview. And if appearing for the first time, that means if you're only appearing for the first time on this SSB for the particular branch which you're joining, that which will be based on the production of the railway ticket which you're on which you have traveled. Now, candidates, when you're going for this, you're required to carry a photocopy of the first page of the passbook or the check or leave where your name, account number, IFSC code details are mentioned while appearing for the SSB. Now, this training is scheduled to commence in the month of June 2021. Candidates will be inducted as officers in the rank of sub-lieutenant and will undergo naval orientation course at the Indian Naval Academy, Ajimala in Kerala. This will be followed by professional training at the various naval training establishments, units and ships. Full pay and allowances are admissible to officers whilst under training as per the extent policy. Now, what are the other criteria? You are supposed to be unmarried and while you are undergoing training. Any candidate who is found to be married or marries while he is under training will be discharged and shall be liable to refund all the pay allowances drawn by him or her and the expenditure incurred on the candidate by the government. Secondly, the candidates will be on the probation for a period of 2 years, which will start from the day they join the Naval Academy for training. The performance of the candidate in the sports during this period will be a key factor in deciding the final selection and confirmation. During probationary period, the services are liable to be terminated on professional, medical, or disciplinary grounds. Now, if an officer voluntarily withdraws from the initial professional training or resigns during the probationary period, he or she will be required to refund the cost of training in the whole or in part, which may be determined by the government, and all money received by him or her as pay allowances from the government will be calculated and has to be taken back. Now, what is the site on which you can register yourself? The site, as mentioned in the Indian Naval site, is www.joinindiannavy.gov. And the dates for applications is for the sports and the law cadre is from 29 Jan to 7th of February. And for the naval constructor branch, it is from the 10th to 18th of February 2021. Now, please note that when you're filling up the form, it is advisable to keep the relevant documents which you are supposed to be keeping. Some of them are your documents with regard to educational qualifications, your mark sheets, your qualifications, your personal details, particulars, that is your Aadhaar card, your any document which is required, your PAN card will be required, your Aadhaar card will be required, and what is required to be filled out. Your email address, mobile numbers are mandatory and have to be filled up in all the fields wherever it is required to be filled up. All certificates of participation in sports for the sports entry quota and date of proof as per 10th or 12th standard, the CGPA conversion formula for the BE, BTech and the recent passport size photographs should be scanned in original in the JPG fit format for attaching the same while filling out the applications. Any scanned copy, if not legible or readable for any reason, the application is liable for rejection. Now, once you have filled out the form, please ensure that you take out an online copy of the form and carry it along with the original certificates when you are applying for the SSB interview. And when you're filling up the form, please read the instructions given in the website before you submit the form, because once you've submitted the form, you will not be likely, you cannot make any corrections to that. And your application is subject to the scrutiny subject, and if it is found to be not in order, it will be rejected and will not be reconsidered again. After the last date of closure of the applications, no request for amendments or uploading the documents will be entertained by the respective service. Now, I'm sure all of you must be wondering as to what you're going to get when you join the armed forces. Now, let me tell you, as a youngster who wishes about when the age of 25 years, when you get a commission to services, no corporate world will give you what the armed forces gives you. The first and the foremost thing which I would tell you, keep the money aside, is your pride and honor. The day you become an officer, it's a moment of pride and honor for you, because you are called an officer and a gentleman. And let me tell you, in a corporate world, at the age of 25, no one will give you this amount which the armed forces gives you. And let me just cover that. The day you're commissioned, join the services, you are appointed in the rank of sub-lieutenant in a pay band of 10. Your pay is about 56,000 to 1,77,000 per month, and also includes a military service pay of 15,500 per month. Subsequent to a promotion, gradually your salary increases. And let me tell you, the allowances that you get along with it, which I'll be mentioning, are phenomenal. I think you get the best of the services, you get the best of life in armed forces. You get whatever you want in services. Like if you have personal hobbies, you have personal interests, like whether you want to go for horse riding, go for mountaineering, go participate in sports activities, go for photography clubs, whatever interest you have, the services gives you an opportunity to participate and fulfill your dreams in this also. Now, since you're going to be a short service commission officer, you will be likely to reach a maximum range of rank of commander or maybe a captain, depending on the services conditions and terms and conditions. So that means if you are elevated to the rank of commander, at the end of your career, you will be getting a salary varying from 1,21,000 to 2,12,000 per month, which also will include allowances. Now, let me tell you one more thing. When you're entering as a BTech graduate, the armed forces gives you an opportunity to even do a post graduation. And now when you're doing this post graduation, your service is continued. That means you're getting a full pay and allowances. You're going to the best of the colleges, the IITs for your MTech, and in addition to that, you are also entitled for leave and pay and allowances, whichever is admissible and allowed to you. You continue with all those things. So don't think. Let me tell you, in a corporate world, if you are a graduate or a technical graduate, if you want to pursue any MBA or some other activity, a corporate world will not allow you. You have to either probably leave the service and do on your own expenses, or maybe he will say, okay, you sit and do it. When you complete that education, come and join back. So let me tell you, the armed forces gives you the best of the things and gives the best of the education. It gives the best of the life. Now, as you gradually get promoted into services, your salary as a chief of naval staff comes to about fixed salary of 2,50,000 per month in the pay band of 18. Now, what all Navy gives you? It provides with the following insurance covers. Now, one is the pay and allowances that it is given to you. Now, let me come to the other things. Like suppose if you're joining as an aviator, as an observer or a submariner, even as a short service commission officer, you're getting an insurance cover of 57 lakhs and other officers are getting a cover of 50 lakhs. That means in case if something happens to you, this insurance money will be paid to your family members, which will be in addition to the other allowances or the other savings that you have made into your DSOP fund, that is a Defense Services of saving fund, which is there, and the other policies or other things that are in you can say applicable at that stage. Now, officers who join the various services can also opt for other branches also. Like suppose an ex-officer is there, he can opt for flying branch, he can opt for submarine branch, he can opt for Marcos branch, that is Marine Commandos into the Navy, that's special forces. Then you have the divers and you have the sea-going allowances, which is applicable to all officers who go on ship when the ship is at sea. There are variable allowances. This is in addition to the pay allowances that you're getting. Okay. Similarly, a technical officer, when you're as an instructor, when you're carrying out duties, you are getting an allowances, which is there. Officers posted in hard allowances, hard areas. That means, like suppose you are posted in Andaman Nicobar Islands or in some places which is non-fabric station. In addition to your salary that you're getting, in addition to allowances you're getting, you're also getting an additional allowance of 20%, which is of the basic pay. Officers get a uniform allowance. When you're staying in a city, if you're not allotted a government accommodation, you're entitled for HRA. That means which it varies from city to city on the class of city A, B, C, and D, and it is from 24, 16, 8% of the basic pay. In addition to that, all officers are getting a transport allowance. That means when you're residing at a particular place, from your house to your place of duty, you are allotted an amount of 7,200 rupees per month. You can't say that my house is 100 kilometers, you will not get for that 100 kilometers, but yes, you will get a fixed amount of 7,200 rupees per month plus DA on that particular amount. Now, there's a saying which goes, the more you sweat in peace, the less you bleed in war. I put this proverb basically from Norman Schwarzkopf, who was a general in the US Army. This is very apt for forces officer, but let me tell you, this is very apt for you people also, because as a young student, when you are in a studying your academics, you are always deciding as to what should I do, what should I prepare, and how should I prepare. Now, if you study more, if you work hard, if you slog more at this stage of life, let me tell you, life will become very easy for you at a later stage, because when you are appearing for the competitive examinations, if you do not have the required criteria of the basic cutoff percentage, your chapter for that particular opening is closed. So what I would request all of you, all the youngsters who are watching this webinar session, please ensure that you study hard, you work hard, and you prepare for the exams for which you're appearing that first of your graduation, so that you maintain a high percentage, whether in school or in college also, so that you are the first door of eligibility criteria is open for you. Because unless and until you are not eligible to apply for that particular service or for the particular opening, this all goes for a 6. So please study hard, please put in efforts and prepare yourself for the exams. The same goes with us. When the more we sweat in peace, because the training of the services is in such a way that moment when we join the services, we're trained in such a way that we are prepared for a war or for meeting any eventuality, whether it's a war, whether it is a natural disaster, whether it is a calamity, whether it is providing aid to civil authorities, whatever comes, we are prepared to meet that at a very short notice. So my request to all the students will be that kindly concentrate on your academics, do well in academics, perform better, and I'm sure all of you will be able to make your parents proud one day or the other by joining the armed forces and also making the nation proud. Now, what are the other allowances that are also admissible to the student or an officer when you join? Now, when you join the services, you are given and you are entitled for 60 days annual leave and 20 days casual leave, which, and let me tell you, you can also accumulate 30 days of leave in a year, which can be encashed at the time of your retirement. That means if every year you save 30 days of leave, at the end of retirement, let's say after 14 years of retirement, when you're retiring after 14 years service, whatever is the allowances, whatever the DA pertaining to that stage after 14 years, whatever is your basic pay and all those things, it will be calculated with that status, and you will be given a lump sum money. That means you are getting money what is saved by you in the DSOP fund. Second thing is your leave encashment money that you're going to get, and the third thing is your NGIS, that is a National Group Insurance Scheme. So you get a lot of lump sum of money. And I will also discuss about the advantages of a short service commission officer. In addition to that, you get travel concessions. That means you are entitled for travel concessions for free air and rail travel once in a year. And your family members means your wife and your children. In case if parents are dependent on you, they are also entitled for it. And you can perform this journey by air and by train also. Now, in addition to that, whatever is given to you. Now, let me tell you, I just come back to it now. Once you retire, what armed forces gives you? Now, before you are retiring in the services, like suppose you have 14 days of service, and a year before that, you are eligible to undergo something called as PRC, what you call as pre-release course. That means you can opt for a 6 months course for a course which you want to do prior to leaving services, wherein a part of the expenditure is borne by you and a part of expenditure is borne by the government. You go to the respective IIMs and do your courses in the subject or the field that you have volunteered for. When you are finishing with the course, you get a campus placement, and the campus placement interview takes place at the campus itself by the respective IIMs where you are undergoing this course. Moment your course is over, you come back to the services, you join back again on the last day of your retirement, depending on the placement that you have been offered by the particular company. You leave the service, and depending on the terms and conditions of the services of which you have joined, they will immediately absorb you. Now, advantages of being in short services. Let me tell you, a short service commission officer is a ripe person in the ripe age available to a corporate world. Why? Because he has been trained and groomed to have all the qualities of an officer that would be expected from an individual when he's working in a corporate world. That means he is a person who has exposure of leadership, man management, decision making, contributor, team leader. All these qualities are there in him. He has got a vast exposure of handling things. He has been taught and familiarized and made an expert person in his own field. In addition to that, because of the nature of duties that you're performing in your whilst being in services, you are taught a lot of things. So in a corporate world, This type of person is a right person, he is a right candidate to be absorbed by the particular company. And generally, let me tell you, the pay and package that you get is a very big quantum jump of money that you get in the corporate world, because you can imagine yourself, if you're sitting in a corporate world after graduation, your counterpart who has joined as a graduate in a company, and you also join the same company, let's say after 15 years of service, 14 years of service and training into the Naval Academy, your professional qualification will take him much higher. You'll be sitting much higher than him, because your other counterpart, your friend who was there, he has just gone as a normal graduate. He will be lacking a lot of qualities and the qualifications which has been taught to you by the armed forces. So my request to you all will be, please volunteer yourself, take a chance. If you're eligible for it, do fill up the forms. The services gives you the best of the opportunities. It will give you everything in life that you ask for. It is not a question of this thing. Armed forces, let me tell you, is a way of life. It's a question of pride and honor. And let me tell you, any officer who has served in the armed forces he knows his duties and responsibilities, and he can be easily identified even when he's walking the road, because of the personal habits, his qualities that have been inculcated, that has been taught to him by the services, and what he has learned and what he contributes to the society. He is a big contributor to the society in all aspects. Now, I would just like to tell that at the Armed Forces Cell, that with me as director, we are available on the following contact numbers. That is the mobile number of 944-511-0234, and my official email ID is as shown. I'm assisted by Lieutenant Colonel Pradeep Bhatia, who is also with me, and his mobile number is as flashed on the screen, along with the email ID. Now, I would request all the teachers and the other students who are filling up who are there on this as an audience, please encourage your other friends, please encourage others, and encourage yourself also to fill up this form. And what I would also request is, all the students, once who have filled up the form, kindly share your details with us. Why I'm telling you, because once you share the details with us that you have filled up the form, we will immediately call you for the SSB training that we impose or we impart at the Armed Forces Motivation Cell at Palol University, and we will guide you and motivate you and prepare you for appearing for the Service Selection Board. Whatever qualities are required to be there, we shall really surely improve upon your qualities. We will surely to help you out in developing personal qualities and habits which are required to be gauged and seen and observed by in you while you are being at the SSB interview. Now, students will also be groomed by us, not only with regard to the SSB, with regard to the books and all, plus also the physical training that we're going to impart onto you, and to train you for development of physical stamina and to make you mentally strong and physically fit also. Now, let me tell you, we all watch movies, we all watch activities, and we have a big round of applause for the real heroes. But let me tell you, the real hero is the one who is wearing a uniform. And you as a student, you as a person in present status can do wonders by joining the armed forces and be proud recipient of medals, be proud recipient of honors and rewards that await you in the services, depending on your performance, depending on your output, and depending on your contribution to the services. And let me tell you, you can be one of them. And I'm sure amongst the audience that is present over here, a lot of students will fill up the form. In case if anyone has got any problem filling up the form, please do contact us. We will be there to guide you. We will be there to help you out in filling up the forms and also provide you future guidance with regard to preparation for the SSB and guiding you as to what requirement of documents and other things you are about to carry when you are going for the pre-SSB as well as for the SSB center also. With this, I finish my presentation, and I'm sure this session would have been quite informative for all of you. And I would request the students who have been in this August gathering to be here with us and contact us whenever required, and also avail this opportunity of coming to the Armed Forces Motivation Cell and ask us the queries with regard to how they can join the Armed Forces in various aspects, both as permanent commission as well as into the short service commission. What all recommendations are there, what all books are required to be studied, how you're supposed to prepare can be done. But let me tell you, SSB is not an overnight procedure. You have to be very active. You have to be well versed with the activities that are happening into your surroundings, and that can be only gained or gained by you when you read the newspapers. Keep yourself updated with the surroundings by reading books, reading newspapers, listening to the news, watching to the activities, and keeping yourself updated to what is happening around the world in all the fields. SSB is one thing which can ask you anything, asking from the space to underwater. So you have to be well conversant with all the activities happening around us and be prepared. And I'm sure we will be there. You will also be there with us. We will provide you the right guidance to ensure that the students amongst us do crack this SSB and make yourself and ourselves and your family proud as an officer and a gentleman in the services. Thank you very much. Jai Hind. In case if anyone has got any queries, I would love to answer the queries. Okay, then since we don't have any question answer series, we would just wind up and we will end the show. Thank you very much, and nice talking to you, interacting with all of you. And we do look forward to have a face-to-face interaction with all the students. And you're all most welcome at Armed Forces Motivation Cell. Thank you very much. Jai Hind.